Let's check out Bitcoin, surging higher over the past week, up more than 20% following a few rough months. And guess who's come along for the ride? Business software firm MicroStrategy. The stock closely tracking Bitcoin's performance as MicroStrategy continues to add the crypto to its balance sheet. And the company just filed to sell up to $1 billion in stock to possibly fund even more Bitcoin purchases. So let's bring in MicroStrategy CEO Michael Saylor. Michael, thanks so much for joining us here tonight on Fast Money. You're going to have to do some explaining to us. You're a business software firm. Why do you keep buying Bitcoin?
Welcome back to another episode of Figures in Crypto. In this video, I'm going to introduce you all to a man by the name of Michael J. Saylor, an American entrepreneur and business executive who co-founded and leads the company MicroStrategy, a company which provides business intelligence, mobile software, and cloud-based services, and just so happens to own more Bitcoin than just about anybody on the planet. For that reason alone, I felt it necessary that we get to know him just a little bit. Now, before we get into the video, let me give you a little bit of backstory about Mr. Saylor. Okay? Born in Lincoln, Nebraska, back in 1965. In his early years, he grew up around Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. In 1983, he enrolled at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Theta Delta Chi fraternity, where he met the co-founder for MicroStrategy, graduated from MIT in 1987 with a double major in aeronautics, astronomics, science, technology, and society. Now, I mention all of those details just to lay a foundation that the reason why we're seeing this man is basically the savior for Bitcoin. Nothing negative about Bitcoin comes out of his mouth. It's because this is his lifeblood. He has been raised around technology, computers, science, and development his whole life. When I read his bio and noticed that he grew up around Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and they specifically chose to highlight that. It's like you don't just put that there for a reason. You don't highlight that. Well, thanks for telling me, because now I know the type of childhood this guy had. However, the point of this video is to introduce you to faces in the crypto space that are making an impact, and a decent one. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to the head of MicroStrategy and soon to be the boss of Bitcoin, Mr. Michael Saylor.
I think the most important role of a CEO is to reimagine your business in the new world order. The mobile wave is changing the way we think about goods and services. When I take a product or a service and I put it into software, I take all the variable cost out of it. What that means is I could deliver that product to 200 million people in 70 hours for zero. Now that's a first order effect, and it's a powerful one. The other effect is when you convert your product to a piece of software, it gets better. One of the fascinating dynamics is that a company like Amazon is going to outperform, and 10,000 companies that are in its way are going to underperform during the mobile wave. All of the small, mid-sized distributors and retailers that don't have a differentiated edge, they're all right in the path of the Amazon wave. And so if you're a CEO, it's very important to figure out, are you going to establish that global network offering? Are you going to be wiped out by it? A piece of mobile software, it's better than the thing it replaced. It gets distributed overnight, so it's always going to be the most recent, and it takes on this network characteristic where all of a sudden I know everything that the billion people that are using my product know, and then I can feed it back to them. That creates a crushing competitive edge. And if you're the CEO, you've got to ascertain what that means to your business, look at the assets that you have, figure out which ones are going to accrete, which ones are going to dilute, and how you want to position in order to emerge from the mobile wave better and prosper.
And how do we determine what's the Victoria's Secret story?
Well, if you have 100,000 items and you have 1,000 stores, you have 100 million combinations of inventory, buckets of inventory every day. And it's likely that, you find people go and there's not enough in one bucket and there's too much in another bucket. And if you have the wrong inventory mix, you lose a lot of money on merchandising. Up until about 1995, the traditional approach of merchandising was I have exactly the same assortment of items in every store. The same types of lingerie, the same sizes of lingerie.
Whereas the people in New York may want different things than the people in California, than the people in North Carolina, than the people in Texas.
Well, you certainly find there are fashion differences, and so Victoria's Secret could figure that out using our software. But even more interesting, they found out that women are different sizes. Yeah. Like the bra size in Chicago was larger than the bra size in New York City. And so they actually stocked a different assortment in a different store. And, of course, no one's going to buy the product if it doesn't fit them. Right. And so you don't make any money to ship a product across the country that no one's going to buy.
And the reason that you were of value to them is that you determined from the data they already had in their company databases that this was the reality of their sales patterns.
You could think about what we create is a large information refinery. Everybody has information, like crude oil. The question is, can they extract any value from it? And up until 1995 or 96, we sat on it, stared at it, we didn't know what to do with it. We created a technology that let you extract the value, and the value would be a elixir that said, here are all the items that are overstocked, here are all the items that are understocked by store, and up until 95 you couldn't do that. So we answered that question, and they were able to generate tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of value by knowing the answer to that question.
Now, imagine a world where a Harvard education is available only through a mobile device, and physical products like remote controls and bookshelves have been replaced by mobile software. That may not be such a distant reality, according to MicroStrategy CEO Michael Saylor, author of The Mobile Wave. MicroStrategy has already been mapping out a new future for intelligent software for the last 15 years. But in his book, Saylor explains how mobile is coming to dominate computing. Our editor-at-large, Corey Johnson, spoke with him about the concept and asked why he believes mobile will alter life as we know.
I mean, the theme of the mobile wave is every company is becoming a software company, whether they like it or not, to the extent that they provide a good or a service that touches the consumer. So unless you have a diamond mine or an oil well, you better become a good software company. And clearly, Google, Facebook, Apple are the winners. The losers are companies that need to be great software companies, but either in denial and they're hoping that this is not going to happen, or they're just incapable of developing great software skills.
What things die? What businesses go away? I mean, is that happening already?
Businesses that are based upon local, average, or mediocre provision of goods and services. If the only reason you're here is because you're the only person with a printing press in Hong Kong and nobody else can afford to print a paper and ship it to you, then that's no longer the case. I mean, I would expect the New York Times is going to ship to 500 million people, and if it doesn't, then someone else is going to come along that can ship a paper in English language to 500 million people. So I think you can't hide behind local rules, local laws, local material constraints, and local labor constraints anymore. You have to be prepared for a global, very competitive world where the single best person in the world is probably going to ship their software every single place it might possibly go.
It also seems like a lot of physical things, those things that remain, will have to be connected in mobile ways that we're not thinking about right now.
Yeah, I think if we take something as simple as a key, right? In the electromechanical world, a key opens a door. It's pretty clear that sometime in the near future, your smartphone is going to become a key. And if I can actually open my apartment with a piece of software on my smartphone, I can flick the key to 25 people. I can create a key that only opens the door to my apartment when I'm not there, or a key that only opens the apartment from 9 to 5 when I am there. At that point, keys are all on a network, and someone's going to be running a server that's got 1 billion keys networked into it, and they'll be running all the software to open and close all those doors. I think we're going to see lots of application networks form that are worldwide, that provide
very, very powerful software services.
So let me ask you about MicroStrategies really quickly. So with your company, do you try to reestablish or refocus your company for this new mobile world?
You know, it's essential. 3 years ago, we started working on mobile software, and we released a product, MicroStrategy Mobile, in 2010. It's now evolved to be a mobile application platform. We're now releasing mobile application networks for mobile identity, for mobile commerce, for mobile intelligence. And we think that it's essential. You're either going to grow into the new space, or you're going to defend and get chiseled away at 3 to 5% a year.
And I got to ask you, I know it goes back a long ways, but I wonder, you've stuck with this company through thick and thin, and also through a massive accounting, we'll call it an accounting problem, but there were SEC charges, it was a big deal. And I wonder, for you, do you look at that as an experience that you learned from and you did things differently in terms of, for example, not doing conference calls and running your business differently for a different kind of information era?
I think we've learned to appreciate over time to shoot for the long term. I think Warren Buffett has become a great idol of mine, and what Warren Buffett said is over the long term, the stock market's a weighing machine. Over the short term, it's a voting machine. And the most important thing for us to do is look out and assume we're going to be running the business forever, and then find a way to maximize cash flows, grow the business, serve the customers. And if we do that, then the rest will follow.
Alexa, ask MicroStrategy who is my top performer.
The top performing rep is Quinn Booth with $11,443,000 commit in pipeline.
Alexa, ask MicroStrategy who is my bottom performer.
The bottom performing rep is Hyacinth Bridges with $400,000 in pipeline.
Alexa, ask MicroStrategy what is my revenue for the fourth quarter.
The value for revenue in Q4 is $443,000.
Alexa, ask MicroStrategy what is my profit for the third quarter.
The value for profit in Q3 is $51,000.
Alexa, ask MicroStrategy for my Office Royale summary.
Revenue for this year to date is $576,000 with profits of $91,000, an improvement of 109% from last year. The average margin for North America is 5.5%, a growth of 78% from last year. There is currently $8 million in pipeline this quarter, $4 million in Stage 2 commit and $4 million in Stage 4 pipeline.
If you're in cash, you're losing 15% of your energy a year. If you're in gold, you're losing 3 or 4% of your energy a year. If you're using a stock portfolio, you got to guess Google versus Facebook versus Amazon versus Tesla and juggle the thing and worry about what happens every quarter. It's too complicated. What if I just wanted to plug into a monetary network that will store and protect my energy from depletion for the next decade? No one's ever figured it out. Bitcoin is Facebook for money. If Facebook's worth $1 trillion because it stores the social energy of 1 billion people or 2 billion, Bitcoin has got to be worth 100x that much because it's storing the money of 1 billion people. When Rupert Murdoch shows up to Facebook, he doesn't bring 1 billion friends. When Rupert Murdoch shows up to Bitcoin, he's going to drop $1 billion on the network, like immediately, because what do you do with a monetary network other than put all your money on it? It's a pretty big idea. It's not a speculative, uncorrelated asset. It's the first monetary network in the history of the world that we figured out how to make work. Look, Ray Dalio says he'd rather own Bitcoin than a bond. There's 100 trillion in bonds. That was a big statement that he made just a week ago.
Right.
Corporate treasuries are holding bonds. as people rotate bonds and cash into Bitcoin, price discovery will return to bonds, and that means that you can buy an annuity for a fair price, and that's good for the world. It would be good to be able to buy a bond that had a good annuity stream. I think that price discovery will return to stocks, and you'll be able to buy a stock that pays a decent dividend that's less risky, and that will be good for the world. I think that you'll be able to buy, if we demonetize residential real estate, you'll be able to buy a house at half the price that's twice as good. That'll be good to the world. And so I think that the virtuous cycle is Bitcoin is demonetizing gold. Your jewelry will be twice as good, half as expensive. Is demonetizing real estate. Your house will be twice as big, half as expensive. Is demonetizing debt. You will be able to buy an annuity that yields 8% interest with no risk. Is demonetizing equity in ETFs. You'll be able to invest in a company and not pay 50 times revenue and take a risk. You'll be able to invest reasonably. And so Bitcoin fixes everything. And it fixes... And if you wish me to make a political statement, the political statement would be, it fixes governments because as it fixes everything else, governments act rationally. And right now, you can see governments acting rationally, right? In weak countries, their currency collapses to zero, and they have to adopt a new currency. Right now, they're adopting the dollar. I see a world where 8 billion people have a mobile device, and they have a digital wallet, and they have a digital currency like a dollar or a euro, and then they have a digital asset, Bitcoin. And Bitcoin links together 8 billion people, links together 100 million companies. It synchronizes the world across political jurisdiction, and it returns rationality to the entire financial system, and it returns freedom and property rights to the human race.